a daunting task on how to look at it, but I'm going to give you a feel for how are we actually looking at the opportunity ahead of us, and more importantly, what are we actually doing with our retail partners around the world. It gives us the opportunity to connect with more people, you've heard it before from many speakers, and to add value. But the great thing about that is that you can do it at scale now, and you can do it at lower cost. So the key for us will be to actually understand how do we connect with more people in a relevant and a very in-context way that adds value. And then more importantly, the 4 areas that Unilever globally is really investing in to really understand how do we deliver our sustainable growth model going forward. You'd have seen through NRF and many other kind of environments, in today's world, most people view that I need to win vertically. Well, now you'll have seen many companies coming together, because as they come together, they can really understand each other's value and drive more growth. And one of the things I'll talk about is the kind of culture and the environment that we're creating, because if we don't create the right environment for our people to be able to go forward and test and learn, we will not deliver the kind of growth and business models that we need. One of the things we talk a lot about when I go to markets is, help me understand what mistakes you've made in the last 3 to 6 months. And sometimes people will say, I've been a good guy, I've made no mistakes. My kind of feedback is, you're in the wrong business, in the wrong company to create an organizational value system that really values test and learn. Lots of companies talk it, but I think it's really important that we bring it to life. What we look at is this kind of multipolar world in which we have centennials. These are the people that are now starting to drive the global business. They're looking at social. They really want to understand the value of the brand, whether the brand is the retailer or the hair care product that they're buying in some of your stores. The key consideration is that we all know that the world that we want to live in will not be delivered by governments. It needs to be delivered by businesses, and it's between Unilever and the businesses we work in to be able to change this value system that we live in. The key consideration will be millennials and centennials. So we really need to understand the value system of these segments, where they are, how they value the brand, and how we actually communicate. 5% actually live in a city today around the world. And again, by 2025, 70% of the world's population will live in a city. The key consideration is, how will they interact with you as a retailer, Unilever as a brand, will be very different to sometimes how we think on a maturation is 61% of interactions now are driven by the mobile, and you've heard that before. For us within the CPG space, working with our retailers, we generally see about 80% of the touch points with shoppers within CPG are driven by the mobile. Tesco has 4 million shoppers that come to their website every month, but only 1 million actually place an order. So 3 million people are coming to the retailer's environment to learn more about the retailer, the brands that they carry. So one of the things we really need to understand is, how do we sell? Clearly, that's what pays the bills, but also how do we influence? Because we need to think about the digital space as like many companies do, through the lens of how do we sell and also how you. There are some pretty scary stats that are around. Let me just give you 1 or 2 that makes us think quite clever. The last 18 years have been hotter than any other years on record. So what's that mean for Unilever? That means we are a global business. About 60% of our business sits in LATAM and in Asia. Especially in Asia, we need to think about, and we are now creating products that don't have water. Because in many parts of the world, there's going to be a shortage of water, so we need to understand, because of this heat, what will we do with our products and the role of the water within that. Each individual on the planet produces their own waste, not literally, but they produce it through consumption of plastic. So just think about that. Every individual in the world produces their own weight in plastic. So we have something, it may not be that kind of innovative in its thinking, but for 19, our operating board, we have 9 for 19, which is our 9 biggest objectives. And one of the biggest ones we have as a business is how do we reduce the plastics that we have in our primary or secondary packaging. So this is something, especially going back to millennials, these are the kind of things that are of real value that we need to understand. How do we develop products that win in today's world with a certain segment, where that segment is living, generally cities going forward, through the role of being able to connect through mobile, and then ensuring that we build brands with purpose, because we know our brands with purpose grow twice as fast as our brands that don't have a clear purpose. AI, machine learning, 3D printing, 4D printing, digital traceability of product end to end. And there's more. And all of these will actually become mainstream in the next 3, 5, or 10 years. So you can argue that business today is actually a lot easier than it will be tomorrow. Because in tomorrow's world, these technologies are going to come through. And the other thing to consider is shoppers within Brazil or the UK or within Asia, they generally have access, physical and digital, to about 1 billion products. How they will fragment, how they will actually interact with you as a retailer and your brands and with us is something that's going to be really interesting. So for us, understanding how the technology and how the unbelievable assortment that people have, the combination of the two and how they will play out is going to be really interesting. You, Alibaba, as a retailer, because they're not. Okay? The way that we view them is they are a digital ecosystem. Think about Amazon. Amazon today has around about 400 million people on their platform, whether their platform is video or whether their platform is their web environment. By 2021, Amazon will be creating $16 billion in advertising from their platform. China has actually mapped out a supply chain to deliver to 1/3 of the 10 million small stores in China. So there are supply chains that co-create a brand based on their data and their insights. And the insight came through something that we're all aware of, which is pollution. So we created a personal care product that would help in cities that have high pollution. If we'd have done that in the way that Unilever would normally have done it, it would have taken us around about 2 years from ideation to being live on the physical store. We did this in 16 weeks. So that kind of mentality of looking at the environment that we live in, and the question for many of you is, do you see yourself as a retailer or do you see yourself as a digital ecosystem? And more importantly, within that digital ecosystem, where and how do you have a right to win? So ecosystem, they're not a retailer anymore. Multi-billion organization. And they're now coming together with Ocado. Ocado's turnover is about 800 million a year. But when they come together, the key consideration is that Kroger brings with it an immense understanding of retail. They understand their shoppers. They're very much kind of connected with dunnhumby, so they have a loyalty card, they're segmented. Ocado 20 years ago got into the game of understanding the economics of actually picking items. In the UK, the average grocery basket delivered to home is about 50 items, chilled, frozen and ambient. If you take Kroger, which is a store pick model today, because they'll roll out the first 2 warehouses with Ocado in the next kind of 9 months. If you're a store pick model for grocery, the average time to pick that basket is around about 54 minutes. Ocado does it in 14. Ocado today in the UK ships 300,000 orders a week. You do the mathematics and see how it plays out. And you're actually picking 30 items and your availability is around about 94, 96%. You will never deliver on what the shopper wants, which is their order. If you take Ocado, I was in there about 6 months ago, and they were saying that on that Monday, they picked about 90,000 products that day.
They had 11 mispicks. 11 within 90,000. So the key is it can deliver on the economics, and more importantly, it can deliver on the shopper proposition of deliver what I want, when I want it, and in full. I have lots of conversation with people that says, I'm really understanding my people, okay, where online, okay, so what about in store? What about when they're on social media? What about this, what about that? And I think one of the things we'll talk about is you need to digital world to your shoppers is something that we are very passionate about how do we become more relevant, more in context, so we can deliver the products and the services these people want. And then the last thing is around kind of partnerships of how do we partner with our retail partners and others kind of globally. I'll give you a feel for that. But the experience to go outside of what is done today, because if we take, and I see it many times, is that we take the physical go-to-market model, we bring it online, and it doesn't work. A very simple example would be, when I talk to many kind of retailers, we talk about going online and offering a service. My first question is, who is the strategic target of that platform? Where are they, and how profitable are they? If those people come into your web environment, depending on their size of basket, depending on their cost per acquisition, depending on their lifetime value, you will either make money or you will lose a lot of money very quickly. So really understanding the people and the culture and getting them in. And for us, we've been working really hard. How do we get them in, and how do we keep them? Keep them on. These kind of people that are kind of in your business today, I would say what they value more than anything is the ability to learn and experiment. So within Unilever, one of the things we do with our kind of future leaders within the digital, e-com, omni, new environment kind of space, is we send them on Stanford University courses. Because we know we don't have the training. We have great marketing training, great kind of supply chain and finance and whatever, but these people are beyond that, and really understanding their value system to ensure that once you've got these people, you can keep them, is very much understanding their DNA around learning. We know that people who are in the physical world, their average value is, let's say, 100. When they go online and in store, they double their value. And they treble their value when they're physical, digital, and mobile. So, and we can deliver the profitability and the good growth that's
in Shanghai. This was the first of what are now 13 locations in China, and it's been open for 18 months. For Alibaba, this is the best example yet of the merger of online and offline shopping. Hema uses technology and data to provide a seamless and more efficient shopping experience for consumers.
There's a long tradition of handpicking the freshest seafood for consumption. And in Hema, that means you don't even have to wait until you get home to eat. You can have it cooked for you right here in the store, just like Jack Ma.
Honestly, I don't think it's going to be too hard.
Which ways do they want to interact with their brand? And the second thing to say is, the technology business model is their quality of fresh. So it's not about, people don't go in there because of the technology, people go in there because the quality, the proposition that the brand has created around fresh. And then the digital just brings it to life in a very good way, that we can track the shopper physical, digital, and social. And then what we're really able to do is to understand when and how to interact. So we did this in the UK. We found out that women, when they were searching for recipes, were searching recipes on a Tuesday between 4 and 7. And when we looked at men, they were searching for recipes on a Saturday between 10 and 12 in the store. So what I'm trying to say is, this is about looking really end to end at physical, digital, social, because that's what your shoppers are doing today. They're not just on your websites, they're on many things. As we looked at the touch points, about 35% of the touch points were digital, and a third of that was the retailer's website. So it's really important to connect the journey, physical, digital, social, because by doing that, you will then add real value versus this is what I'm trying to young family segment, and they were very much into what's the new product. So the awareness, this is where we come together with the retailer and we understand the assets that we can bring and the assets of the retailer. So here what we have is, yes, we did TV, classic TV. The Google and the buying in 1 hour, they charge about $7, $8, $9. So again, the proximity of digital or physical delivery, this is what's happened, and again, they do this within a city context because it delivers.
我在出生之前，我们就是开小店，到现在30年。来杭州以后，在家里8年多，那个小的时候刚刚才一点懂事的样子，人家喊他小老板，也很得意很开心，做健身房。然后这几年竞争压力很大了，自己的能力，这可能是正常的吧，两边人嘛，不能翻脸。
我本来6月份离职是想去继续深造，然后都放弃掉了。然后我爸就是觉得东西送来就收下，经常性进回来都卖不掉，就要完自己吃，自己不吃的就丢。我爸特别喜欢备注，100种以上应该是有的。
你看他在上面这个标签，感受一下，很古老的。
这个陈列问题很大，主要是因为我们中间加了那一上面是你的补货空间，那么天猫货架上面的商品都是其他供应链渠道拿不到的，这都跟打通。
Understands that people in China are moving into cities, nothing new, but what they're now doing is working and taking over small retail environments, branding it, and help digitize these small retailers to get into the game of understanding how to connect with their local community. Not something that we generally see around many other parts of the world. Using our products, and what we're keen to do is we now have about 670 million unique IDs that enable us to talk to people and where and how do we communicate with our shoppers, and then utilize those kind of data, that data cell, with retailers to understand how do we work together to actually drive penetration. How do you win in the world? I mean, when I kind of created this, it was kind of Whole Foods with Instacart. Now that's gone. It's Whole Foods with Amazon delivery. So again, things change very quickly. Kroger, you heard before their relationship with Ocado. They've just signed about 3 weeks ago, relationship with Microsoft to use Microsoft's data understanding, data science capability to come into a different place. And Walmart with Google, understanding the end-to-end journey where shoppers start and where to the end in the US. You could say it's either Amazon or Google, and then either online to purchase or physical. So with people who can add value to your brand's proposition and your ability to reach people, reach more people, do that at scale and at low cost. It could be packaging, it could be the cost to actually pick, pack and ship, or it could be drop density. So one of the things we do is take a brand like Dove and the brand community of Dove, end up with an integration of working together, and then define what we want to do. So some of the work that we do through this kind of thinking is how do we drive drop density for a retailer around the world? Because one of the biggest impacts on profitability for a retailer that's doing grocery home delivery or even store click and collect sometimes can be the drop density. How many orders can you actually deliver with a certain length of time? So for us, what we're looking for is, what are we trying to do? What is the retailer trying to do? What is the sweet spot? How do we work together to then ensure what we're doing is delivering goods for China? It's a way of making sure that if we can help grow with you like we've done for years, the ability to get footfall into your physical stores, this is the way we're trying to work to get footfall or eyeballs onto your web advertising. This is just a way of working with the retailer to kind of cross the data sets that we have and they have to ensure we can do some of the very basic things about delivering information to whether it's male or female on many different things for tonight. So we actually work that concept through physical and digital, and ensuring that what we can then do is take, as I said before, the assets of the retailer, the assets of Unilever. One of the things we really look for is the mindset. And it's this kind of mindset that you as the business leaders in your organization, you need to give your people the ability to test and fail. Okay? None of us like failure, no one wants to come to me, I'm sure they don't want to come to you with, here's what I failed. But if you start asking the questions, which is, don't just show me what worked, show me what you tried and failed, but more importantly, what you learned. So the mindset that you need to create in today's world around this test and learn is driven by you as leaders in your business. The diversity around the table, the people that you have there, the data scientists, the performance marketeers, the people that understand psychology online and in store. These are the skills that will be around the table that will help you think differently to create solutions that will win with people. Like I said before, we try and do that through the lens of education and experiences, because this group of people, what they really value, yes, they want to be paid well, but clearly what they value is the ability to learn and test.
The omni-channel, the new retail world, we've all talked about that, but I think what is really important, going back to that slide I showed, is really having the data to understand how are your shoppers, physical, digital, social, other ways, how are they interacting with your brand, your retail brand, or your manufacturer's brand? How does that work? The proximity is more and more people moving into cities. You saw the Alibaba example where they've gone into small stores and started to work. So how do you manage proximity, whether it be digital or physical? The strategic partnerships, which is in today's world of the technology and the robots and the AI and the virtual reality and the AR and the digital printing, the argument is not many companies, and even when you heard before from people like Apple and Google, even these companies which are seen as really on the edge are partnering to ensure that they can be beyond the edge. And the last thing is about the people that you have. You can do the people based on the mindset and really having the diverse of thinking and culture within some of these lead teams that you have to create today's business and deliver tomorrow. So apologies, I think I've gone slightly over time. Apologies. I'm done.